Hippocrates, that Greek physician, 400 BC, he said, "A wise man should consider that health is the greatest of human blessings and learn how by his own thoughts to derive benefit from his illnesses." Yeah, deep. So the stories we tell ourselves become our realities. So this is my backstory. The idea for my backstory came about on my chiropractor's table about last May, when I had 6 weeks of chronic back, sciatica, hip pain that nothing would remove, endone, Valium, anything. I just couldn't sleep. And she took me through a process called the lightning process, which involved telling a happy story. So I was lying on her table, and she said, "Well, look, just find a happy story, something, a memory that's joyful, and just run it through your head, the smells, the sounds." Instantly, the first thing that came to me was throwing a frisbee with my family in the front paddock. That was great. Everybody was there. I could see them. I could smell them. The grass was green, which was gorgeous. And I just ran this story, and she said, "This is it. Just keep running the story as a way of breaking up the neural pathways that have set up this chronic pain." And I said, this is like my backstory, isn't it? She said, yeah, we both laughed. Yeah, it's like my backstory. Yeah, that's fine. I said, maybe I could do a show called My Backstory. Yeah, that'd be funny. All I need is like a captive audience or something. Yeah. So would it be my backstory? Would it be my backstory? Yeah, we both laughed. How ambiguous is that? Yeah. So this is my backstory and my backstory. Yeah. I'm a bit lost for words, which is hard at the start of the show, but I have been lost for words in relation to what my back is to me. So when I see people walking down the street that I haven't seen for a while, often their first question is, how's your back? And people ring up friends I haven't spoken to, how are you? How's your back? So my back has been and I was trying to find a word, lost for words of what it is. It's my signature, it's my brand, it's my essence. Maybe you could help me. So this is a bit of a sort of show. It's like a show, but it's a bit of a workshop as well. There's a sing-along, and there's a bit of, sometimes it feels like a eulogy. So if you feel you want to say anything when I'm gone, you can take notes, that's fine.
Is that your Achilles heel?
My Achilles heel? They're fine. It's one part of my body that I've never injured. It's great. So heckling is fine as long as you're articulate and funny. That's great. So my back is my brand or my essence or whatever it is. It's my logo. That's a good word. I like my back is my logo. And books have been really helpful. I've got a few books to share with you. Books in the process of dealing with my back. This one is great. It's got it all in here. Everything. Let's have a look at the critical page. Got it marked. There it is. Hope you can see that. Can you see that clearly? Yep. Beautiful. There it is. Look at that. The spine. It's a quiz as well, so I've got a few questions for you. Who can tell me how many vertebrae there are in the human body? Any guess? 24? 33. Yeah, 33. 7 cranial, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, and then the sacrum is fused. And so it's not my own, it's everybody's. The critical bit is L5, S1 down here, the 5th lumbar vertebrae where it meets the sacrum. And I mentioned that recently to Ronnie, my doctor, Ronnie, and she's a big Steiner fan, and she talked about in the Steiner scheme of things, L5, S1 is a critical part of the spine when we stood up, when we became Homo erectus. Then that was the weakest part of the link. So when we're on all fours, this is where we wag our tail. And so L5, S1 has been my critical part. The spine. It's great, isn't it? I love the fact that books have spines. Echidnas have spines. Porcupines have spines. If you're into AFL, they have spines. There is a bit of a workshop element of a show of hands. So I'll be asking for a show of hands. Put up your hand if you've ever had a sore back. Oh. This part of the workshop involves a little bit of stretching through the latissimus dorsi. So when you put up your hand, you can straighten your elbow, and then point your finger towards the ceiling. I'm going to make a point, and then just to resurrect a little bit of bad 70s dancing, we're going to draw a circle. Looks great from up here, that's fantastic. All these people have had a bad back. Just to make it balanced, put up your other hand if you've never had a bad back. Oh, well, yeah, the human condition for that back. Wow, that's fantastic. Wow. Respect.
They've always said I had no backbone.
That's it, isn't it? The way that the body parts are used to demonstrate you can either be gutless or, I've had a belly full, or spineless, to refer to our emotional states. So, who likes doing cryptic crosswords? Well, not many of us, that's it. No, I love cryptic crosswords, and especially anagrams. Anagrams are my favourite things. Like that fact that silent and listen is an anagram. So when you jumble up the letters to get a new word. Or garden and danger. Or earth and heart. Or spine and penis. Once you notice that, you can never forget. This is a great book. It's called A Mind of Its Own. This is a historical analogy of the penis. But all these books are available for loan if you like. A cultural history of the penis. A mind of its own. And it probably has been the case most of my life. That's just a distraction. That's right. My cultural history of my back began 40 years ago when I lived in Mittagong, New South Wales, and a bunch of blokes decided we'd make some money and take firewood about 100 kilometres up to Sydney. We had a farmer nearby who had lots and lots of fallen dead trees, really old hardwood. He said, yeah, take whatever you like, yeah. So about 5 or 6 of us hired a chainsaw. Who's ever hired a chainsaw? Really bad idea. So we hired a chainsaw and we had a flat back truck and we had Hessian bags. So we chainsawed all day Saturday, loaded the bags onto the back of the truck. Oh, look at that. Every bag was another bit of money. And then Sunday morning, I woke up early because I had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old, and I thought, could be a really good bloke. I could go and start early. I could, get out there and start cutting before everybody else wakes up, because they had a bit of a party on Saturday night and I didn't. So I thought, yeah, okay, that way, that's better. And so I went outside to start the chainsaw. A bit scary demonstrating this. So, start the chainsaw. Oh, no. So, don't ever hire a chainsaw. Start the chainsaw. And I went, oh, geez, that hurt. Oh. And then, not being the sharpest knife in the drawer, I just kept trying to start the chainsaw. Yeah. Oh, God. You go, and then I fell on the ground and I was screaming and I couldn't move, and I was just like, I never had that sort of pain. 40 years ago, I'd never had pain like that. It felt basically cut in half. So this half was work and that half could work, but there was nothing here. It was just broken in half, and I lied on the ground and they came and got me and carried me up very painfully to bed. And the chiropractor came out for a visit and put his hands near my back and said, "Whoa, I'm not going near that. There's just so much coming off there. I'm not going to touch that." Luckily, one of the other blokes that we were cutting wood with was on a methadone program, and he came across and very generously donated half of his methadone each day. It was really nice, but in the long run, probably wasn't very good for my back. So that was 40 years ago, and that was the start, really. Never knew sort of physical ailment before that. I was 30, and then the next 20 years, I lived in fear of doing it again, and happened quite often. So if I look through my diaries every year, there'd be these, couple of times a year, there'd be a big line through it, back written right across there, because I was working as an artist in residence and I was performing, travelling a lot, New South Wales, Queensland, doing shows, and then I just have to wipe out 2 weeks and I'd go to bed. So my practice was bed rest, was what there, or going to chiropractors. It was really scary when they do that thing where they bring your leg over you and they lean on it and it goes crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh, it was scary, scary as. And then, yeah, fear was the operative thing for, I was just so scared of doing anything. And I did notice that it wasn't actually the doing that was the problem. So I still could go and collect firewood and I could still fix the car, but it was usually the next morning afterwards. It took me a while to wake up. That was the morning after I'd slept, after physical activity. I thought maybe what they need to develop is a morning after pill for backs. That would work, yeah. But I don't think anyone has. And the crunch came in 2002 when we had a family wedding in Thailand. And the other family were English, so we had this very, very intense beach cricket game. It was very serious. And being a really good fast bowler, I put my back out bowling, which is really sad. And then we had a ferry and a bus and a train and a plane to get home. Yeah, I wasn't really very well when I got home. And then it was my daughter Grace's 18th birthday party a couple of days later, so we were moving furniture and setting up marquees and that. And I just remember standing on the veranda holding onto the rail, just not being able to hold myself up. And then the day or two after her party, I was lying on the lounge room floor crying and I couldn't move, and Christine said, "I'm going to ring the ambulance." I go, "No, not the ambulance, no, not the ambulance, no." But she rang the ambulance. For all those 20 years, I guess my main fear was spinal surgery. That's hanging over me like this dark cloud, you know, that if this happens again really badly, and that thought that if you put your back out and you've got numbness in your toes, then they just operate, because you could end up, you know, paraplegic, because if you lost the nerve is pinched in that L5S1. So she rang the ambulance, and the ambulance came, put me on the little slidey trolley thing, and gave me the green sucking stick thing. Oh, that was good. It was a pethidine, I think it was just, nothing mattered really. Then, you know, like, God, because I had that all the time. Put me in the ambulance, took me to Castlemaine Hospital. Who's ever been in an ambulance? Show of hands, ambulance? Ah, people, yeah. I'm so glad they exist. Who's ever spent a night in Castlemaine Hospital? Yeah, great place. I spent 10 days there. And I remember arriving in the ambulance, and they wheeled me out of the ambulance into the reception area, and my GP at the time, Danny Silver, was there receiving me. And I was quite stoned, of course, in pethidine, and I said, "If you're thinking of the knife, you can do this." Yeah, he said, "No, you'll be right." So 10 days in hospital, 3 or 4 days before I could get out of bed, lots of, I guess it was morphine or other pain-killing drugs. And then you get the walking frame, and then you make my way up the corridor with a walking frame, going, oh, gee, God. Feeling so old, like 70 or something. Yeah. And then remember the first time after about 5 days being able to go outside into the fresh air, and then 10 days I went home, and slowly, someone...
Did you have surgery?
I didn't have surgery, no, thank you. But I am soon. Yeah. Feel free. That's very articulate heckle, that was great. It's very polite, you put your hand up. When I came out of hospital that time, 2002, someone put me onto a different chiropractor who was in town. Her name was Sue Herringslake, and she had a practice above Bowtree. Anyone that remembers Bowtree, Liz Gibbs, going back history. And so I went to this new chiropractor, and I'd never met anyone like her. She talked about my feelings, about when I put my back out. How did you feel? I'm a bloke, I don't know what I feel. So I feel stupid. Stupid, yeah. Yeah, when I put my back out, whatever I'm doing, putting my laces. Remember one time, Grace was at kinder, I bent down to kiss Grace goodbye to go to kinder, and that was 4 days in bed. Stupid? She said, oh, stupid, yeah, okay. So when's the first time you ever remember being stupid? And it's just amazing like that. Oh, when I was 3, maybe 2, 3 or, yeah, about 3, I remember sitting on the floor of my auntie's toilet eating my poo. And my mum and my auntie came in and said, stupid! I don't know where that memory came from. I never thought about it since, but as soon as she asked me, when's the first time you felt stupid? Yeah, just this image of me sitting on the floor eating my poo. Who's ever been called stupid? The obvious question is, who's ever eaten their poo? Yes, well done. So that was quite a profound change of practice to go to her. The other profound change of practice, the next book, was while I was in hospital. I bought this book, the physio at the hospital recommended this book, which is called Treat Your Own Back. And it had this wonderful, just a change of attitude, I guess, for me, because it said, the critical bit was, the main point of this book is that the management of your back is your responsibility. You can call on physiotherapists, doctors, chiropractors, but in the end, only you can really help yourself. Well, that's really cool. Help yourself. So I worked at that, helping myself. I had lots of new exercises. That lovely, the crocodile, I found, positions that I could do. Because I'd always done sort of yoga in the past, and then I somehow changed to Tai Chi, which had it gave me a strength in my legs that I didn't have before, and the strength in my legs gave me a stronger back. And I discovered acupuncture about the same time, and that alleviated the pain as well. And then in 2005, I had another ambulance episode. I was similar situation where I just lying on the floor in the lounge room, couldn't move, crying, just couldn't get anywhere out of the pain. And this time I said, call the ambulance. So the ambulance came, another 10 days in Castlemaine Hospital. Wondering again, each time it happens, is it going to be closer to spinal surgery, just fusing the vertebrae together that they do? But it didn't happen then. And that time, I came out of hospital and I found Mark Peck, who is a chiropractor in town. And she at the time she's a network chiropractor. A network chiropractor is based on a man called Donnie Epstein, and her book she had at the time is The 12 Stages of Healing, which is a fantastic book. It goes through the 12 stages of taking responsibility for yourself. So the first stage is called suffering. Basically, stage 1 is when you just lie there and say, someone fix me, call the ambulance, I take no responsibility whatsoever, I am helpless. Stage 1. And then it goes through from stage 1. Stage 4 is called reclaiming our power. I take my power back and I honour my inner being and I reclaim my wholeness. I want my power back. So by stage 4 there's this sense of, yeah, I can do something about this, like the other book said. You take responsibility. And interestingly, stage 12 is called community, where it says the modern quest for community is a quest for one's own personhood. The essence of community is wholeness that meets my needs and those of the greater whole. So once you can not be self-centered, not be so self-focused, you can then give to the community. And he sees at stage 12, the end point of our self-healing comes about when we can give of ourselves through people like Oazi, who organise the Fringe Festival and put on shows like this. So all in our own way, we contribute to the community that we're in. What a fantastic community Castlemaine is to live in, that people do stuff. And then 12 stages. Oh, then in 2006, I discovered 5 Rhythms Ecstatic Dance as well in England. We discovered 5 Rhythms Ecstatic Dance, which is basically healing through movement. And I guess all those books are all moving towards the stage of healing through movement, as opposed to my first 20 years where it was bed rest and being stationary and not moving. And Gabrielle Roth is the founder of 5 Rhythms Ecstatic Dance. She has several books out, and the last page of her first book, which is called Maps to Ecstasy, says it like the whole book says. It says, movement is the medium of change. In my experience, if you put your psyche in motion, it will heal itself. The enemy is inertia, be it of energy in the body, walls around the heart, or fixed attitudes in the mind. Movement is the medicine. So for me, discovering 5 rhythms, and apart from the fact that I just loved dancing and I could dance and move, it had that added aspect of healing through movement. And then the next crunchy bit came last May when I was starting the pump at our dam, and I went to get a bucket of water out of the dam to prime the pump. It's really scary miming this one as well. So I went down to the dam to get a bucket of water, and the water is really heavy, isn't it? Yeah. So I came up with a bucket of water and go, oh shit, that hurt. Oh, pull it back out. Oh, bugger. It wasn't called the ambulance hurt, but it was, I could feel it, that ping, there's this terrible moment, the ping, the thing. It's like that Paul Kelly song, If I Could Start Today Again, if I could. And I always used to do deals with myself. If I could just have that moment back, I'll never think a bad thought again. And I'll never whinge about every trivial shit, that I can't get the crossword out or anything. If I could have that back, it was like growing up a Catholic. I always made deals with God, if you won't let me go to hell, I'll never masturbate again, I'm sure. So it's a bit like that deal. I make a deal with my back, If this can only get better, then I'll never whinge about too much salt in the curry or whatever it is. But so I put my back out, getting water out of the dam. And then I learned a really important lesson that I'd love to share with you. Because that afternoon I had a massage booked. And I thought, massage, okay, great. Oh, that'll help. So I went and had a massage. And then in the 1 or 2 hours after the massage, my back just went totally critical and the pain just rose up like this sort of exponential line. And I just couldn't believe that. I never had sciatica before. People ask me, you've got pain in your leg, but suddenly I had pain all the way down my leg. And I was worried that, right, surgery, pins and needles in the toes, this might be it. And then I just couldn't get it away. That was the start of the 5 or 6 weeks of chronic acute pain. And I guess the lesson there is that when your back goes out, that's that term, that phrase goes out, something is out of alignment and the muscles go boom, and they lock in place to keep it secure. And so I went and had a massage and muscles all relaxed. They go, muscles are all soft and all relaxed. And then the misalignment goes, caught that. And I learned that little lesson. And somebody told me, similarly, a hot bath, because I often used to have a hot bath. If I put my back out, I go, great, I have a really long hot bath. And a similar process, that relaxing the muscles doesn't aid the process of recovery. It sometimes exacerbates it. That was a bit of a bad lesson. So I had horrific 5 or 6 weeks of hip sciatica, back pain. And in that time, I was on my PIC's table. And that's when she took me through the lightning process. And the lightning process is this other book by Phil Parker. And the process is finding that happy story, finding a memory that is joyful, that you can run like a video. And I did it 5 or 6 times a day. I just lay down, do like a guided meditation for myself, and I just run this video. There's the family throwing the frisbee, it's great. And there's a couple of little quotes from the lightning process book. This heading is, until destructive feedback loops are broken, ill health and poor function will prevail across the body. But basically, Mark Peck described it as a neural freeway. It's not just a neural pathway. The neural freeway from my hip and my sciatic nerve to my brain is just there, so strong that I can't break it. His other quote at the back is really lovely. He says, discovering you are even more influential in your health and your life than you could ever imagine might just be the best thing you could ever do. And I guess that's been the process, that I discovered that I can actually influence. So I suppose it's always that scary thing. I think, oh great, every time I would get better and feel good after my back, God, that's over. That's not happening again, that's good. Yeah, till next time. Now, I've got my journal that, this is my daily journal writing, and I'd just like to read you this little, I'll read it verbatim because it's how I wrote it in Wangaratta last October. It was October. I was doing a week of shows in Wangaratta, and remembering that over my first 20 years of having a back, there'd be these lines through my diary which just said back, and I just cancel everything. So this is my stream of consciousness on Monday night, the 15th of October in Wangaratta. The long drive to Bright, bad sleep, futon, cold. The first show, taking my pants and my shoes off. Ping, the pain, can I finish the show? Can I finish the week? Can I finish the weekend? I've really done it, and maybe I haven't. Moments of denial. No, maybe I haven't really done it. Oh yes, there it is. Just over the right hip bone. Oh, it feels like passing out. But I've got to keep going. Oh, the first response is to tell someone. Tell the kinder staff. Oh, call Christine. The show is for 3-year-olds, so it's slower and gentler. I won't use the hats or the percussion, so I don't have to pick stuff up off the floor. No, I'm so glad that I put that elastic in my shoes. Now I can just sit down and slip them on. I don't have to tie my laces. Oh, I've got ibuprofen in the car, yeah. Oh yeah, I need food and I need veggies, lunch to eat that. Oh great, liniment good. Yeah, I can take drugs. Oh, now I've got to drive to Wang for a second show. Fear of sitting in the car. If I get in the car, I may never get out. Oh, finding the kinder got lost, late, stress, a big fence to lift all the stuff over. 2 shows in the car, drive. Oh, peak show, this is easier. Oh, I didn't bring my back brace, bugger, that was very handy. Good show. And the feeling that doing the show, I was laughing and singing, increasingly remember to smile. A good show, then drive to El Dorado for an Airbnb. Meet Christine, an old Queensland fruit picking hippie. Do I tell her the story? I don't know. Do I text Christine or Grace or Hannah? I want to share my story. I want to tell everyone. I want to yell it out. I've done my back. I've done my back. I put my back out. I want sympathy. Someone fix me. And yet I don't want to talk about it. The realization that the story I tell becomes real. How are you? She says. The answer is bluff. Fake it till you make it. There's strength in not telling the story. Not texting home. Not calling. It's not denial, it's just not the story. I sit here, it hurts. I can feel it hurting there, right across the right side of my hip bone. The lightning process, yeah, tell the story, do the work. So I did the work, I did that was Monday night, and then I kept going. I did 8 shows for the rest of the week, I finished 10 shows in the week, and by the end of the week, I felt great. And yeah, thanks. I was very proud, and I guess that's the stories we tell become our reality. So the notion of when people meet you in the street say, how's your back? My first response is to say how it is, but then I think, I don't really want to talk about it. Yeah, fine. Needs are great, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good. Because the telling of it just reinforces it. Yeah, that's what I've found. Now, I haven't got, what's the time say?
8:15.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, I'm good. I'm just rambling. Just remind you what Hippocrates said 400 BC. He said, a wise man should consider that health is the greatest of human blessings and learn how by his own thoughts to derive benefit from his illnesses. Yay, Hippocrates. So that was my backstory, and now I've got a little bit of my backstory. So I was born on February the 3rd, 1949, and when my mum passed away about 18 years ago, I found her diary. It's a really big book. It's a really small book, yeah. I love that comparison of these 2 books, yes. This is my mum's diary from 1948. So I found it and I go, I'm pretty good at maths. I thought, 1948, I was born in February 1949, I've got 40 weeks, May, yeah, May. May the 5th. So my mum and dad's story was my dad was in the Navy. My mum and dad were both 19. My dad was in the Navy and he read a magazine that had a photo. My mum sent a photo into the magazine just to say, these are my hobbies, I love stamp collecting and whatever. And he saw her photo in the magazine. This was the photo that was in the magazine. That was my mum at 19. So he saw this photo and thought, oh. It was like sort of analog Tinder. So he wrote to the magazine and he said, oh, could you forward this letter on to this person in the... And so they did. The magazine forwarded on and she replied and they started a correspondence. And next time his ship came to Melbourne, they met up and it was love. That's right. And so I'll just read you the excerpt from the 5th of May, 1948. Tonight we stayed home again. We went to bed quite early. Next day. I didn't go to work today. Al stayed for lunch. We sat around the fire till 3:30. Next day, Al went tonight. I love him so much. So that was May the 5th. And then, about 3 weeks later, I came home from work really sick. I stayed in bed today. Next day, I'm still sick in bed. I'm still in bed 2 days later. I sent a wire to Al asking to come visit. So that was 5th or 6th of June. And then 19th of June, Al and I were married today. The problem with that was that my mother's family was Catholic and my father's family were Protestant. And so when they met and they wanted to get engaged, I think, after 6 months of being 19-year-old, both families said, no way, we're not, you can't have anything to do with them. And so the story I was told later was that it's the only way they could be together. Yeah, get pregnant, have a shotgun marriage, then they're together, families can't do anything about it. Except that was a black cloud hanging over our family then. So we lived in Melbourne with my mother's family, and my mother still went to church, and my father, each Christmas and birthday, he would ring his family and say happy birthday, happy Christmas, and they'd hang up on him because he married a Catholic. So that division ran all the way through our family. And my backstory, my story is that I was told that as a baby, in the first year of my life, I had really, really bad eczema. And they used to tie my hands to the side of the cot so that I couldn't scratch myself. And I'd scream all night. And we lived with my grandmother, my mother's mother, and she couldn't stand the screaming. So she would come and untie my wrists so that I'd stop screaming. And then in the morning they'd find me covered in blood because I'd scratched myself all over. So I had really, really bad eczema. And after about 2 or 3 years old, that eczema developed into asthma. And I became a chronic asthmatic. So it's Children's Hospital and doctors in the middle of the night turning blue. And I had these little pink pills called, I think they're called ephedrine, before the days of puffers, and they were my salvation. So if I had feeling an asthma attack, I'd take a little pill and it would relax and I'd be fine. But if I found myself anywhere without my little pink pills, I was done. The panic would set in immediately. As soon as I realised, I remembered that I didn't have my pink pills with me, then I could feel my heart start to race, and the first sign was I'd start to yawn. And I'd try and yawn. And if I couldn't get enough air to yawn, I knew I was done, then asthma was on the way. So I grew up as an asthma ruling my life. And then the crunch came, another crunch. At 18, I went to university and I did psychology because I did psychology because all of my family were really crazy. I wanted to understand why. And so I remember this profound moment in first year psychology. We did a section by John Bowlby, who did the attachment theory, and the theory was about the prenatal environment and the effect on the person and the character and the personality of your 9 months in the womb. And I just remember having heard the stories of my parents' traumas of dealing with their Protestant and Catholic families and being torn apart, no one wanting to talk to them, and then thought, oh, that was me. That was me. I was in there. And all that was going on. And suddenly there was this lightening, there was this lifting of responsibility. It wasn't me that mucked up all the time. It wasn't my responsibility. I was born with it. I have to live with it and do something about it. What does he say? I have to take benefit from my illnesses, right? But there was just a lightness suddenly about the fact that, oh, it was bigger than me. It had happened there. And I slowly at that point, I grew out, I guess I was 18, I grew out of Catholicism and asthma. I think there was a connection there. Didn't have to worry about it too much. And yeah, and it just goes on and on and on after that. So it's time for that part of the backstory, which is sing-along. I thought I needed to find a back song that we could sing about backs. There's a few, of course. Back in the USSR. The bitch is back. I'll just turn this down while I put my camera on. You probably got some other ones? Yeah.
Back in black.
Back in black. Yeah. A bit heavy for me.
Question 10.
Yes, Dan.
Did the two families ever come together?
No, there was no reconciliation. Oh,
Not on TV?
well, yes, that's true. Yeah, there was my mum. My mum had a good idea to bring my dad's mum down from Queensland. There used to be a show on television called Tommy Hanlon Jr. ran a show called This Is Your Life, I think it was. And he would bring people together as a surprise. And so my mum and dad went to the Channel 7 studios to be in the audience, unbeknownst to my dad. And they're sitting in the audience, and then Tommy Hanlon Jones says, "Alan Henderson, this could be your life." And so he got up, he's still in there, "This is your life. You were a sailor, you did this and that." Yeah, okay. And on the other side of the curtain is your mother you haven't seen for 23 years. Whoa. So they pulled the curtain back and there's his mum sitting on the other side of the curtain. Whoa. That was crazy. So she came back, and we were meeting her for the 3 grandchildren she was meeting for the first time. And it lasted about 24 hours and then shit hit the fan and she went back home and there were tears and everything. It didn't work out well. Yeah. Families, great, aren't they? Happy families. Did that answer your question there? Yeah. No, I think religion's got a lot to answer for, isn't it? Yeah. That's another show. There's another show that talks about gambling. I actually didn't include, I toyed with the idea of including it. So much of my backstory involves gambling and the history of gambling. That might be the next show, because we were a big gambling family. Yeah. So, back songs. There's this one. Jojo was a man that thought he was a loner, but he was another man. Jojo left his home in Tucson, Arizona, bought some California grass. Your turn. Get back, get back, get back to where you once belonged. Get back, get back, get back to where you once belonged. No, I don't think we'll do that one. I found a better one. This one's an obscure Bob Dylan song that's called My Back Pages. The words My Back Pages are nowhere in the song. It's just called My Back Pages for some reason. But it doesn't actually have a chorus, but it has a refrain at the end of every verse. And the refrain is a great sing-along refrain, and it's very appropriate for this sort of event because it's but I was so much older then, I'm younger than now. That's how it goes. Let's try to sing along. But I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. Heads and shoulders, knees and toes, elbows, back and feet. I've compromised each part of me by being indiscreet. Yeah, my indiscretion knows no bounds, been beaten around the brow. Ah, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. Except some harmonicas don't go together, do they? I've chainsawed all day and lifted pumps without a hint of pain. But tying my laces or wiping my bum, oh, there it goes again. Yeah, mindfulness is that magic word. It's about being here right now. Oh, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. I like Panadine, Ford and Voltar and ibuprofen and opioids. But Endone and Valium, they're the ones that I avoid. It's my firm belief that the greatest relief comes from just breathing in and out. Oh, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. Turmeric and gelatin, magnesium and vitamin C, apple cider vinegar and fish oil. Oh, I'm so anti-inflammatory. Yeah, inflammation, it is the curse. I'd avoid it if you can somehow. Oh, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. Feldenkrais and shiatsu, Alexander and osteopaths, acupuncture and physio, massage and chiropractic. Yeah, the feeling of healing well is so sweet. I loved it then and now. Oh, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. 70, yeah, I'm here again, like so many times before. This reincarnation trip, such a blessing and a chore. I've learned my lessons endlessly from Buddha and the Tao. Ah, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. Best laid plans. There you go. Well, my song is sung, my show is done, my backstory is complete. 70 years of being me, sometimes team, sometimes me. And I thank you for your indulgence, and the time to stop is now. Ah, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. Thanks for coming.
Good, Paul, and what a fantastic story. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Let's give it up a bit.